Top of the morning, everybody. Good to be here. It's going to be quite an evening. We've got Tito Armstrong from Princeton University in New Jersey. He runs the Chupacabra homepage, and that's what we're talking about. The Chupacabra. It began in Puerto Rico, but recent reports indicate, guess what? It's here now. So we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Also,
hello, and welcome to part 2 of our Chupacabra episode on American Dreamland. We previously talked about the origins of where the Chupacabra came from, and now we're going to go back into the government cover-up about what the Chupacabra is and some of the mysteries and conspiracy theories around it. Yeah. Speaking of government conspiracies, what is the cover-up? What don't they want us to know about the Chupacabra? Because on January 28th, 1996, there was a notification of a strange situation taking place in Puerto Rico. This one did not involve Chupacabras or UFOs, at least directly. For you see, sources on the island reported that a well-known and hitherto prestigious UFO mutilation crop circle investigator had been on the island interviewing witnesses to the Chupacabra sightings and trying to undo the independent research initiatives that were being conducted by other investigators. So the government is trying to, stop the research into Chupacabra because it's, quote, to the truth. Also, in some instances, the investigator claimed to be acting alone, but in others, he claimed to be part of HBO in an effort to prepare a documentary on the subject of Chupacabra. So the government sees this, and they're like, we have a deal with, these creatures. We're feeding their pets. We can't let the proletariat, the simple folk, find out the truth about it. So we have to discredit the Chupacabra research. Which, honestly, I feel like this makes it so the Chupacabra earns its place in lore and everything, because I very much love a researcher who goes, listen, the state is trying to silence me. Also, you know what it is I think the best version of that oh my god, I cannot believe I am forgetting his name, but the guy who claimed he sucked off Barack Obama.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, what's his name, Larry Dixon or something?
Do you want me to look it up?
Okay. But, the reason I say him is he is constantly, whenever he's, every, I guess, decade where he just shows up on these, right-wing things and is like, oh my god, here's this horrible, here's all the, torrid things I did with Obama. If you look at the
Larry Sinclair.
If you look at his it's actually very funny in terms of, I'm not, tarring every UFOologist or conspiracy theorist or person. Larry Sinclair is a unique national treasure, but I will say the thing that makes him A, just truly an American, and B, representative of all of these alternative researcher types, is his press conference where he's admitting it's I did crack cocaine and performed oral sex on then State Senator Barack Obama. Before I go into details about these incredibly libelous and slanderous claims against this man, let me clarify a few things first. Yes, I have been to prison. Yes, it has been for fraud and perjury. Anyway.
I'm glad you asked that, and I'm going to tell you how I expect you to take it seriously. I expect you to ask me questions, and I expect you to do your job and actually find facts as opposed to looking at Daily Kos or Fire Dog Lake or Huffington Post or all of these pro-Obama sites that are putting and twisting. Sir, I have not hidden from anything I have ever done in my life. Never. You can go back to the judges in any one of my cases, and they will tell you I have never wasted a taxpayer dime on a trial or even a preliminary hearing. If I did it and I got caught, I said I did it, okay? And I understand you asking about my credibility. You know what? My crimes were 20 some odd years ago, with the exception of the alleged crime in 2001, which I have not ran from, even though I'm being portrayed as hiding and running. I'm not, okay? That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to actually get facts and then make your decision, rather than fake Washington Post articles saying that I've been investigated 8 times over 25 years for blackmail against politicians, which is not true, but yet you're continuing to repeat it over and over again.
So yeah, it's like the whole they're trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy our credibility. Also, here are the terrible things I did that would make you question my credibility.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was a government conspiracy trying to cover up all of the Chupacabra stuff, which led to my favorite thing I learned about with the Chupacabra, which is that the mayor of a city called Canovas, which I believe is in Puerto Rico, the mayor of that town at the time was named Kimo Jones Soto. Jones is his nickname, a la the famous archaeologist movie hero Indiana Jones. Why he picked Jones instead of Indiana, I don't know. The more recognizable part of his name. But he's the mayor and part-time adventurer who planned to find the truth about the Chupacabra. So when he heard that there were rumors about a government cover-up, he said and promised his constituents that he would go out and find the Chupacabra.
And did he?
Well, that was not reported on the website, which has not been updated. But I will tell you this, is that he took the part-time adventure seriously, and he was a true open-minded individual, because he said, I have heard about them sucking blood. So in case they are vampiric, I will bring it. I have bought a 12-inch cross that I will bring with me to protect myself if it is a form of vampire.
Well, maybe that worked against him, because what if it just kept Chupacabra away from him? Like it kind of acted like a barrier.
Like a area of effect.
Yeah.
It could just tell the bad vibes. So
yeah, it was like, that one has a cross.
See, I will say this is the elected official I've seen who is most like a Witcher. So I think he would have researched his lore. Because for, deep dive into the Witcher lore, like, sometimes Geralt will comment on, like, the common folk think this folklore thing, but I've actually researched and know that, like, it's not the garlic that vampires are afraid of, it's the, like, specific acid, so I can just make a potion or whatever. So
No, wait! You saved my life. I must repay you.
You've proven yourself to be the kind of man who would do the same. I want nothing.
No, please. Please, Geralt of Rivia, do not feel like you're doing me a service. I cannot start a new life in the shadow of a life dead.
Fine. I claim the tradition as you have. The lore of surprise. Give me that which you already have, but do not know.
No! What have you done, Witcher?
Fear not, your majesty. If I'm seen in your kingdom again, it'll be to kill a real monster, not lay claim to a crop or a new pup. Destiny can go
Are you?
Fuck.
I think you would have done the research to know, like, what he would have to do with the cross, and that it would not preclude him from capturing that.
Okay.
I'm now just imagining, like, just a normal, boring city press conference, and then it's just a bunch of people in suits, and then just, like, one guy with, like, just a huge scar and missing eye, and just 2 giant swords on his back, going, like, the Chupacabra got my eye. So, long story short, I have to raise sales taxes.
But he did find him.
No, he didn't. This is my fantasy.
Well, in your fantasy.
In my fantasy, yeah, of course. But he failed as a Witcher, obviously, because he wasn't able to slay the creature. He also was so into this type of stuff. He said, like, once he promised that once he had solved the mystery of the Chupacabra, he would find out the identity of a mysterious woman of Puerto Rican folklore. So I do feel like this is why I personally, like, fell in love with conspiracy theories and a lot of like fringe figures back in the day, because I'll use the things since I mentioned it, but like imagine like if a politician today was like running and it's like, hi, I want to be your congressman. Also, I feel that I am a witcher who failed but still survived the trial of grasses, so I'm still gonna hunt monsters. So, like, he just carries his monster hunting gear or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we would rightly call him crazy and not want him in power, but, like, you have to commit to a bit. And I feel like the weird conspiratorial, like, QAnon people we have now are just kind of going along with it and just kind of, like, are extreme and dumb, but in a way that our whole culture is becoming dumb and extreme, rather than like, I'm going to create a personality and I'm going to like stick with it. Too much of them are 2025 Alex Jones, who is like, I'll do whatever Daddy Trump says. Mm-hmm. We need 1999 Alex Jones, who was like, listen, do I believe the Rothschilds and the Bilderberg group are secretly controlling all of our finances? Yes. But you mentioned shape-shifting lizard people and like David Icke, and you're just the turd in the punch bowl.
What does David Icke do? He talks about the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, these global elitists, these power structures, all real, all true, all demonstrated by bills and executive orders and prime ministers and premiers and presidents. All real, meat and potatoes, something you can bite into, something that is easily demonstratable. And then you've got David Icke at the end of all this. He says, by the way, they're blood-drinking lizards. Blood, Al Gore needs blood to drink. So does Prince Philip. I mean, it's asinine. And it's being picked up by people. And so it discredits all of the reality that people are talking about. And that's the problem with David Icke. He's got a good line to a point, and then he discredits it all. It's like a turd in the punch bowl. That's his job. He's got this nice big thing, this nice fruit punch, nice ice cubes floating around in it, and then he takes a big dump right in the middle of it, and no one's going to drink out of that punch bowl.
President Trump calls for special prosecutors what he needs to investigate 2020 election fraud. And what's he talking about? Well, this came out a week ago now. FBI reveals Chinese plot to create fake mail-in ballots. Well, we knew it. Gateway Pundit knew it. All the witnesses, the people driving the USPS trucks, the Chinese delivering them in the middle of the night in Michigan and other key battleground states. And now the FBI documents knew about it and were told to suppress it at the time.
Like, where he would just be like, no, I also believe in separate crazy things, but I have a line, sir.
Yeah.
You just don't have that. You just are like, I'm just gonna say whatever extreme things people randomly believe and don't have principles to stick to anymore. And I feel like you kind of had to a certain extent back then, because you can't say, I'm gonna hunt the Chupacabra and be like, oh, I can pretend this didn't happen and someday I'll still become governor of Puerto Rico or whatever. Like, no, you are committing to a bit.
Yeah, you're committing, and yeah, it's just the modern day, it's just people regurgitating what they hear in their echo chamber. It sounds fun.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to, like, why I was, like, especially why I was, like, I will say I also really loved the fact of, like, I thought genuinely the Chupacabra was just this, like, thing from, like, folklore that just, like, was one of the weird random fads we had in the 90s. Which is why I wasn't like, oh, that's probably why there's not a ton of stuff. But I just love that it is just a joke a comedian made about a random news story in 1995, and then just became this big thing of folklore.
Yeah.
That just, like, people still know what the Chupacabra is.
Yeah. I mean, do you think kids today know what the Chupacabra is? Like, do we think it still has, like, everyone knows Bigfoot, but
yeah.
I feel like it hasn't kept its popularity, but maybe I'm just out of touch.
Gentlemen and gentlemen, we present to you the Chupathopter.
Wow! Right on! Etc.
All right, everyone, take your seats and buckle up. We're off to New Mexico to find the elusive Chupacabra.
But what are we going to use as bait? Oh, I get that handled. Check it out! It's reversible! Ta-da! A goat costume!
I mean, see, it's hard because before we recorded, we talked about how atrocious and god-awful teenagers are and how we don't want to deal with them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that youth is thinking about. And the only kind of, like, young people I deal with are my girlfriend's kids. And, like, they didn't know what Chupacabra was. They're also, like, 6 and 8, so, like...
Yeah, which I would say, I think at 6 I did know what the Chupacabra was. But that was because I was growing up in the early 2000s.
Oh, I would say, like, you had a family that had a lot of healthy appreciation of, you know, the alternative or cryptic world.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I feel like if they had their level of exposure, of your exposure, they would absolutely know what Chupacabra is. I will say the reason I had to explain Chupacabra to them is I have a shirt from T-Turtle that is just, like, cartoony cryptids, and they pointed to one and didn't know what it was, and it was Chupacabra. So I think, you know, he's at least in the big 9, according to T-Turtle. So.
Yeah, he's just not, like, I feel like the big one, I mean, Bigfoot, he's never left our hearts, and then Mothman.
I feel Mothman is the modern creation who's just, like, there. Like, he's, like, you know, oh man, this band is, like, a classic. What? They've only released 2 albums that came out, like, 3 years ago? Like, occasionally a band will happen, like, they're just, like, instantly respected, like, universally beloved. Like, you know, Nirvana back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, just immediately hit, we're part of it, and, like, immediately respected. I think Mothman is the cryptid version of that.
Yeah, also he's gotten a revamp in the last couple of years where people are just, like, obsessed with him being sexy.
I know we have had this conversation. I do not know if we have had it on the pod, but we have talked about that, you know, Gen Z loves ass eating, and Mothman is the cryptid most associated with ass eating.
I went to Denny's for a Grand Slam delight. Whoa! But little did I know, a creature was inside. Whoa! He had wings and glowing eyes and a hunger oh so bold. He bore down on my ass and left me feeling cold. Bore down on my ass. So the Mothman ate my entire ass and Daddy's oh what a sight. Oh, he chewed it up like a plate of delight in the night. Whoa! Yeah, how I screamed and I shouted, but he just flew away. I'll never forget his glowing eyes. Oh, what a strange, strange day. Grand Slam! I searched for my behind, but it was nowhere to be found. The Mothman had devoured it without a single sound. A single sound.
Wait, what? Yeah, there's a bumper sticker that's like, the Mothman ate my whole ass. That's like the Zoomers love, so. Yeah.
And the statue of the Mothman in West Virginia has a very defined ass.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it came from.
Probably, yeah. It's the statue's butt is something to behold, really.
Which also,
so it's like this Zoomer's obsession with Mothman being sexy is all because the person that sculpted that statue was just too horny.
Yeah, that's like
kind of.
It's almost like how Lucifer has a giant horse dick. I mean, it makes sense, but
I mean, you have to. I feel like if you're really doing a stallion, you have to show off the dick.
I guess, but you didn't have to give Lucifer. I mean, he's just going in front of an airport.
Pete, you need to know what you're getting into when you come into Colorado, okay? Yeah, I feel that it's also like, you know, Chupacabra was, I don't want to say like psyoped, but like it just kind of got forced in a little bit, whereas I feel like the Mothman thing fits folklore more because it was more organic. Like, it was just a story people in West Virginia would tell and like would get mentioned in like, folklore and cryptid stuff. And then like, I feel like the super horny sculpture guy is like one of those artistic people in like, you know, very conservative areas who like, I'm an artist because of my sexuality, but I never really engage in my sexuality, so I do not understand that. So like some local town in West Virginia was like, let's do a fun art project to get some tourist dollars. Let's make the Mothman. We only have one sculptor in town. It will be fine as long as he comes in under budget. And then they just did not understand, like, how horny this man was. And then you get the ass, and it just kind of, like, it becomes a separate internet meme and goes from there. That's, like, the cryptid version of either that, either, like, if you to remember, like, Monkey Christ or, like, Ugly Lucille Ball, which was that, so there was, like, a very old, like, cathedral in Spain. Like, it was, like, a cathedral that was built, like, before the Muslim conquest or, like, during it or something. So, like, it's very old, and, like, they asked, like, this Spanish woman, it's like, oh, please, we're a poor thing. Does anyone have art skills to help us restore the frescoes? And there's this one lady who's like, I can do it. And there's, like, I forget if it's Jesus or the Virgin Mary, but it's, like, her restoring it is just her painting over it.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Now I'm picturing in my head.
Yeah. It looks like a capuchin monkey.
Yeah.
And then, like, the hometown of Lucille Ball was like, we should make a statue in her honor. And we should make sure it's a local person. And there's only one copper statue person who, like, shockingly, small town New York, upstate New York, does not have a ton of, like, sculptors. So they just picked a guy, and he could not do faces. So it's just this, like, bizarre, like, she looks like she looks like if you've read Doom Patrol, like that arc where they're, like, stuck in a 1950s controlled by, like, demons. It's like she's like the housewife in that. It's just, like, horribly mutilated face but still has the dress and everything.
Yeah. And now they have a festival you can attend.
Yeah.
Yearly.
And it is also great because it shows, I think the Chupacabra, because it is just something that appeared in the 90s, I think it really explains, like, the end of history and how that kind of, like, uniquely made us, like, in a position where we kind of doomed the species. Because, like, after the end of the Cold War, we had this thing of, like, oh, we can actually think about what structures are like and look at problems, but it simultaneously is, like, a nicer time when we can do this.
Looking at the statue
of Lucille Ball. It's terrifying.
It is.
But I want to read an editorial that used to be of, like, of kind of, when I say what we became, this is an editorial from Carlo Rivas, where about what the Chupacabra means to me. And I just want to read this one excerpt from it. When I daydream about Chupi, which is what he calls Chupacabra. So yeah, he nicknames him Chupi. It's like, when I daydream about Chupi, I picture him, parentheses, I do not consider Chupi an it, pleasantly strolling around the island's beautiful hills, taking in the countryside, while looking for a place to have some fast food. He lives the ideal life of the Jabraro, in harmony with nature and very fond of animals. A significant reason we are so obsessed with the concept of Chupacabra is that we want to be like him. We are too caught up in the daily grind of our workaholic consumerism. 1996, everybody. Which one of us would not love to strip a chicken bare and marleted el diente raw instead of eating at some bastion of American cultural imperialism, such as Kentucky Fried Chicken? El Chupacabra appears to be that atavistic, primitive portion of our psyche that longs for the old days of climbing among trees and hunting for bananas. I think you both can imagine reading that on Tumblr of, like, sexy Chupacabra art and being like, I miss this. Like, the terms, the focus on things, I know they weren't created, like, in the 2016 kind of rise of the new left or whatever, but it is just wild to not only read that just in the open from 1996, but also in reference to Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Wolves, you remember wolves? They hurt farmers economically and would kill farm animals.
Yes.
And they thought at first they should be eradicated from the face of the earth because they were killing farm animals. But now they're taking wolves back into Yellowstone and trying to repopulate, to the astonishment of some farmers out there, trying to repopulate Yellowstone with gray wolves. So I wonder, in this modern day and age of politically correct everything, if Chupacabra might not be listed as an endangered species.
Who's to say? I mean, if the Chupacabra exhibits the characteristics that people say it does, then I guess keeping it under control would be nearly impossible if that were true.
And again, it's like, I think it also relates to, like, it has the thing of, like, it relates to, like, we do, I think it instinctively understand the problems we have. We know what the problems are. It's why in the 90s, the police and the government were always, like, the villains in any movie or a conspiracy theory and everything. And it had to deal with that, but it also lacked a kind of, you know, Manichaean worldview, and it had a sense of wonder. It's like, man, why are all these animals getting slaughtered? Maybe it's just horrible conditions of the environment. Or maybe it's a Chupacabra. Like, we don't have that anymore. Whenever there's something mysterious, we just go straight to, like, deep state. Like, it's evil. Everything's in biblical terms. And it's like, we even that description is kind of far off, but it's so close to what the problems of Western capitalism are, and it's just like, now we don't have that. You don't even have someone who, like, has, you know, somewhat decent economic politics or somewhat decent social politics, and then, like, all right, problematic views on the other side, but, like, something where we can do. It's always like everyone is either like, I think you should be able to marry who you want to. I agree with that. Pronouns, use whatever you want. Yeah, I can get on board in that. You can sell children. Huh? What? Well, the child has to consent to selling itself. Why are we talking about selling children? Like, the libertarian bit. Or you're just like, you know, it seems like outside of, like, you know, the like left, it seems like in quote unquote mainstream, the only people who, like, talk about workers' right, the only people who are not associated, like, with Bernie Sanders or whatever, who are, like, really big on, like, workers' rights and, like, helping people and all of that, are both anti-union and then also, like, these extreme J.D. Vance Catholics who are just like, you know, and also the deep state is trying to sell your children to pedophiles, or like, I don't trust people. You can't trust people of this skin tone because they were made by the devil. Yeah. Type of, like, psychosis. Whereas it's just like, we could just be like, yep, I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of wonder I don't understand. Maybe there are monsters or aliens in the world. All I know is the government is evil and I don't like them.
Yeah, and that's what I miss. That's what we all miss. Because, you know what, it's like, I think what really encapsulated what you're speaking about, Max, is, remember a couple of years ago when people thought they were selling children on Wayfair? Yeah. It's like that, and it's just exhausting.
It's exhausting, and do you think that it's because, do you think one of the things that, like, because I do feel like the movement was kind of like, as someone who made the mistake of, like, studying the extreme online right, in college and just never being able to escape the brain poisoning that caused me, is like, I wonder how much of, like, I think conspiracy theories and, like, QAnon stuff was already gonna go mainstream and we were already kind of stuck there, but I wonder if, like, COVID made it so it was, like, somewhat coherent, because, like, I've heard, like, the Wayfair stuff before, and, like, there's a ton of, like, weird things or, like, quirks happening, but I think it's just because we were all stuck inside and online, and we were just able to, like, point to that and be like, and now we all have the same dumb language.
See, I wasn't stuck inside online at all during COVID. Like, I was working pretty much full-time, just getting yelled at by chuds. Yeah. Which asking to wear a mask and then doing mutual aid.
Yeah, and I will just say is
now, and my brain is breaking now.
Yeah.
Because I'm barely working and all this shit's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're experiencing what a lot of us went through in those of us who had more, like, professionalized or, like, online jobs. And I will say is, like, think about it. If you have the time to yell at someone for where, like, not that it's I don't know, like, I don't want to defend people who didn't mask up, but, like, it's one thing when it's like, I have health conditions. It's like when someone's smoking and, like, around you, and it's like, there are ways to deal with that, and I'm always going to side in the favor of the person whose health is in peril. But I do feel like the people who were like, you have the time to not only go shopping in the middle of the day, which is presumably, I don't remember you working nights, so like...
No, yeah, it was in the middle of the day.
Yeah, so you have people who in the middle of the day can just go grocery shopping and have the time to just yell at people for wearing a mask during a global pandemic. Or, you know, even if not, like, people have been masking up when they are sick in Asia for like decades. Like, plenty of people just do that. You then have the time to just go online and figure out what the Wayfair shit is. Like...
Yeah, I think it definitely accelerated. I think we were on this path. It definitely accelerated it. And then as a public health person, these things, pandemics, historically do cause a rise in, like, fascistic thinking. Because of, like, survivorship biases and all this other stuff. And then it's easier to convince people to distrust the government because there were some things that weren't handled well in the beginning. And so it's easy to convince people, yes, the government's evil. And I think it just made it 10 times worse.
I think the nature of our government made it so it's just they couldn't really have commit to a cohesive, story, I guess.
Well, it's like they didn't have a consistent story because there wasn't even unified, like, with the it's not like, you know, the COVID stuff under Biden was a little bit easier to understand in the sense of, like, evil man in office, we are against it, all of that. But it was, like, even more, and at least there were, like, clearer sides. But, like, it was just, like, Trump was so inconsistent on what he thought COVID was, and then just, like, you know... It's so weird that everyone is just like, oh, man, like, I can't believe, like, all the lies Fauci said. And it's like, okay... Fauci only has a platform because it's not just that he had a position that Trump didn't fire him from. It's like Trump let him have press conferences, like, to tell you what to do. Like, so that, I think that just confused it.
And it could have been a lot more, like, back in, like, the 1918 pandemic, doctors, like, they would force you to mask, and they started breaking in and vaccinating people.
Yeah.
They got so sick of the anti-vaxxers that they broke in and would forcefully vaccinate people, which maybe is not something to do, but I think even back then there was more, like, heavier, one, misinformation couldn't spread as easily, two, they were a lot more aggressive with it.
Yeah, well, speaking of misinformation spreading in a pandemic, that was the Spanish flu epidemic. Do you know why it was called the Spanish flu?
Yeah, because Spain was the only one that was not aligned with anyone in World War I. Partially.
It's that. It was called the Spanish flu because Spain was the only country releasing their accurate numbers.
Yeah, because they weren't, like, at war with anyone.
Oh, right. So, so as a result, it was like, oh, they appeared to have a higher rate, but, like, every analysis is like, actually, Spain did pretty decently.
Yeah, because really, I think, if I'm remembering my public health history correctly, that it was started on some pig farm in Kansas or something.
Yeah, America. It's great. Speaking of just so American things that lead us to the Chupacabra, I also want to just say it's like, it feels like it's nice when you have a sudden explosion of something that is natural and just like, we're always going to have these weird things in the culture that just like are the biggest thing ever and either just like become part of the culture or just like disappear. And I feel that, like, you know, I liked it more when it was like Pokemon and stuff. I'm using that as an example because it exploded. I liked Pokemon because I was 8 when it came out, but like it is also just like, okay, it's here. But that was still natural. Like there's a huge gap between the initial release of Pokemon and when it got really big in America because they like slowly released it. It was word of mouth. It wasn't just like factory put in like, you are the big thing now. Culture, society, like, agree to that. And again, the Chupacabra was one of those things that just naturally got very big. You have a bunch of people on that 90s grind set just selling shirts and various paraphernalia.
So I would pick up and run. Let's, you wanted to talk a little bit, too, about the cultural aspect of this. So give me your best shot there.
Well, basically, you touched upon it earlier when you were talking about the Chupacabras as a myth. I find the subject to be as interesting, or maybe even more interesting than the whole mystery of the Chupacabras, the creature. I think that the way, especially Puerto Ricans have reacted to this and then Mexicans and Americans and South Americans have reacted to this, points to the fact that of the creation of a new type of folkloric beast, or similar to, say, for example, a leprechaun in Ireland. So this has become a part of Puerto Rican culture, for good or for worse, right now. And it's also been given life in the commercial sphere due to the T-shirts, and there's been a couple songs written on it.
Songs? Chupacabra songs?
Yeah, in a genre called merengue, which is a type of Latin music.
Right.
There's been a couple songs written about that, and they've been hits in Puerto Rico.
But I do want to say is, like, the Chupacabra wasn't a thing until 1995, and a lot of things about the Chupacabra have come out, but by 1997, two big things had happened that showed that it was, like, a huge part of the culture. And the first I want to mention is the X-Files. And in 1997, there was an episode about the X-Files called El Mundo Gria, where a series of Mexican migrant workers are killed, and they fear that it is the Chupacabra. Shout out to the city of Fresno, where an ex of mine is from, and San Joaquin Valley, where the episode takes place. And it's also very funny because, one, is it just shows the classic 90s dumb thing of not doing any research, because, one, they're just like, oh, the Chupacabra is this ancient folklore, and it must just be all of Latin America, because I think they're pretty explicit that all of the migrant workers in the episode are Mexican. And it's just like, one, Chupacabra's in Puerto Rico, so two different places. And then two is it's like, they all are fearful of the Chupacabra, like it's this monster they've heard about since childhood, when it's been like 2 years since anyone has heard about this thing.
Look at this, Scully. There's been another unsubstantiated UFO sighting in the heartland of America. We've got to get there right away.
Well, gee, Mulder, there's also this report of a shipment of drugs and illegal weapons coming into New Jersey tonight.
I hardly think the FBI is concerned with matters like that.
This also brings me, as I kind of alluded to, that I might go on a rant about this, is it's also the most X-Files thing ever, which is like, yeah, there's a mystery. And then it just proceeds to do this weird fucked up thing that does not make any sense, as it is not related to any of that. Because in this episode, the Chupacabra is not a monster. The Chupacabra is not like a shapeshifter of like, oh, like a Mexican werewolf of like, oh no, I turned into a Chupacabra on the full moon or whatever. No, the Chupacabra is an evil fungus that kills you and turns you into a murderer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you don't get deformed or anything? You're just...
No, you get deformed from it eating you, but like it's not a monster or a thing that eats goats. It's just like a weird, like, deadly fungus.
So like The Last of Us?
Kind of.
I mean, isn't that kind of just like the scientific explanation that it's like mange or mites or whatever?
But then it would be affecting dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
The reason I say like could go on around about the X-Files is like the X-Files would love to just take something and go like,
do whatever you want with it.
No, like famously, if you know about the Jersey Devil, it's like this weird little monster that like lives in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. And the episode of the X-Files that is about the Jersey Devil reveals that there's actual multiple Jersey Devils, and what they are is a family of inbred Neanderthals who just live in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey.
Wow.
But somewhere out there, something is watching us. There are alien forces acting in ways we can't perceive. Are we alone in the universe? Impossible. When you consider the wonders that exist all around us. Voodoo priests of Haiti, the Tibetan numerologists of Appalachia, the unsolved mysteries of unsolved mysteries. The truth is out there.
So, like, I heard about something. Let's just read a weird thing. Which also, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I want to look into the number of nickels I would get if I looked at episodes of the X-Files that had incest themes. Because I already know it's more than one. That's very uncomfortable.
X-Files rewatch.
Yeah. It's gonna be hard. Those
I never watched the X-Files. I think I remember watching one episode, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but it had something to do with like Chinese immigrants.
Yes. I know exactly the episode you're talking about, because I forget if it was supposed to be a spin-off or something, because there are a lot of those, like, Mulder and Scully are barely in it.
Yeah.
It's San Francisco Chinatown, and it's about this, like, weird gambling thing where if you win, you get a fortune, and if you lose, they take your organs or something.
Yes, the organ thing, yes.
It's weird organ harvesting. So there's no really mystical elements to it, I don't think. Lucy...
I remember it scared the shit out of me. I want to say it was, like, 12...
I do feel like, Misty, you may have missed this out, but I feel like if you were a child, like, who had a lot of your childhood in the 90s, there was one time where you just watched an episode of The X-Files and it scared the shit out of you, and it was totally random. For me, it was this episode that, it was about these old guys in a nursing home who were just, like, using astral projection to, like, murder and, like, rape the nurses and stuff. Do you remember that episode?
Well, I was just saying that's a perfect segue for our next episode, or one of our next episodes will be about astral projection.
Oh, yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
deep dive into astral projection.
I mean, so are we gonna just do the coast to coast and, like, compare to find an X-Files episode?
We could. I was gonna also read that, like, weird book I got doing mutual aid one time that says how to travel to other planets. It's like 50 pages.
But I also just want to comment, I love how the X-Files is like, oh man, they really brought about, like, continuing serialized story arcs. When, like, the best, like, if you just talk to, I don't want to say, like, a real X-Files head, but someone who's, like, has watched a lot of X-Files, I guarantee you their favorite episodes are probably going to come from seasons, I'll say, 3 to 6, to be generous. And also, they're just episodes that are, like, in no way related to the larger plot line. It's like the episode about that serial killer dealing with psychics and that insurance guy who's an actual psychic, Clyde Brockman's Final Response, or, like, I guess this is season 2, but, like, the one where they go to the town of circus folk, that's a pretty fun episode, things like that. Whereas, like, the alien episodes start off really strong, but they just, like, have no idea where they are going, and, like,
Did they try to do an alien arc?
Oh, that was the arc, is, like, it was Mulder's sister who was abducted by aliens, and there's a huge conspiracy, and then they just do not know what to do with it, and they keep just upending it, and then there's, like, all of these things where it's like, actually, they're not aliens, they're the original inhabitants of Earth, and actually, the aliens you see are not the real evil aliens, they're the host of the oil, which is the evil aliens, and then there was a civil war with aliens and all this shit, and then, like, they just are like, alright, like, in season, like, 6 or something, they're just like, alright, we're done, we're just gonna have the conspiracy get annihilated by the aliens, and then they're gonna disappear. And then the show got picked up for multiple more seasons, so they're just like, oh, just kidding, there's actually secret alien super soldiers. And then they said the invasion was gonna happen in 2012. And then when they rebooted it in, like, 2016, they were like, JK, something else happened. It's like they had no idea. And just, the other thing I just wanted to briefly note is, like, it also made it that it was enough of a cultural thing where cheap movie makers were able to do it, because in 1997, a martial arts movie called The Guns of El Chupacabra was released, where a space sheriff is sent to Earth so he can kill El Chupacabra.
Jack, there's been an interruption in the flow of light.
Yes, there's been a glitch in the space-time continuum.
Z-Man, Lord Invader, was cast into darkness.
Seeking revenge, he has loosened the dark forces upon Earth and unleashed the Chupacabra.
You must go there and restore order.
So what's in it for me?
And I'm only mentioning this because it's great because, it's like very few... You always know it's great when it's an American film and it's called a martial arts film. It's like, it's like, I think on Red Letter Media they call it, like, the black tank top film. I'm just like, I own a dojo. I'm also gonna make a movie.
Hey, what do you want that guy that owns that dojo we owns?
Oh, yeah.
You want him to make a movie, right?
He probably has made a movie. So, just the full lore is like a friend of Chris's and mine owns a bar like 2 blocks from our house, and in order to get to that bar as we walk, we have to pass what used to be an architect's office. And then was a yoga studio, and now is like a taekwondo or whatever studio. And I think he is one of those like Sylvester Stallone hangers-on, like one of those guys who was a bodyguard in the 80s to like an action star. And he has an orange, is it a Camaro?
I don't know the make, but it's like bright orange.
Yeah.
And the license plate says like ass kicker or something.
Yeah. It's a bright orange car. The license plate says ass kicker. Despite the fact that he has been there several years, it's still just a printed out picture of him and his gi just doing basic things. And occasionally when we walk by, we'll see pictures of him promoting his band that plays in the kind of bougie neighborhood in the town we live in. So, but anyway, so I just want to mention that because it's a sheriff is sent to kill El Chupacabra, and in the film there is actors in the film include Robert Zarda, who is the villain from the movie Samurai Cop.
Call him Samurai. He speaks fluent Japanese.
Are you Fujiyama?
The guy he fights at the end. Martin Sheen's brother, Joe Estevez, who listeners of this podcast, if they know about him, would probably know about him as the guy who plays the president on Decker.
Iran has nuclear weapons. They're on missiles, and they're pointed towards the United States. They are ready to attack at any second.
All due respect, President Davidson, I told you assholes to watch out for Iran, and you didn't listen to me.
And for some reason, one of the co-creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh. And I want to say, I found this movie, and then it said Kevin Eastman, and I'm like, no. So I looked it up. I separately then looked up a biography of co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman, and I read through a lot of it, and and then as soon as it started talking about like him reuniting and working on the Turtles again, I was like, okay, this is just a guy named Kevin Eastman. Thank God I read for another paragraph, because it said, other projects. He was briefly an actor in films such as The Guns of El Chupacabra. I'm just so curious about like how they just like, was he just trying to be an actor? Did he have a friend who's like, can you be in my movie? Like, how do you get, that's such a random guy to have. At least like Robert Zarda and Joe Estevez are like just actors, so you just could presumably hire them. Alright. That's all of the notes I have. Any last thoughts about the great and powerful Chupacabra?
I just will think of him fondly as one of my introductions as a child to the cryptids.
You can be honest, you were just looking up Larry Sinclair and the other terrible things I mentioned in the podcast, like that statue of Lucille Ball.
I'm playing ball, actually.
For American Dreamland, I'm Max Chavez.
I'm Misty Stone.
And I'm Christopher Walken.
What deck are you using?
Blue.
Let's say hello to Jimbo. He's just a joker. In any other game, he's left out the deck and has no value. But in Balatro, Jimbo and other jokers upgrade your poker hands, allowing you to create powerful card synergies.